Welcome to Homegrown Tales, a live storytelling event held at Brews, 2 Pine Spring in Eureka Springs. The following was recorded April 1st, 2026. And now here's Zeek Taylor to introduce the program.
My co-producer Sandra Spotts and I welcome you to Homegrown Tales. Sandra and I are thrilled to be joined by front porch guest musician and storyteller Ernie Hill.
Thank you.
Ernie Hill is a songwriter, musician, wordsmith from the southern Ozark foothills in Arkansas. Ernie's a former staff writer for the Walnut Valley Festival, where his writing has been printed over 450,000 times over the last 30 years. He conducts live audio interviews with the booked artists for the festival Campground Radio and hosts story songs with Ernie and guests. Ernie was also a core founding member of the now defunct John Hartford Memorial Festival, where he created story songs. He was also the staff writer for the John Hartford Memorial Festival, MC coordinator, contest organizer, copywriter, and ad salesman. He and his wife Patty wrote the festival theme song, Tribute to John Hartford, which was included on the 2015 festival CD, Up on the Hill. They've managed many songwriting and instrument contests, and Ernie is an inadvertent storyteller, meaning that he does not plan to write or tell a story. In his words, they just fly through. His out-of-the-box approach to creativity led him to write The Cosmic Path to Melody and Lyric, an introspective and researched book on creativity and defining the muse. Ernie has shared the stage with numerous well-known songwriters and performers. He was inducted into the Old Town Grain and Feed Wall of Fame for songwriting. His songs have been featured on NPR's Folk Sampler with Mike Flynn, Old Hippie Bluegrass, Belfast Community Radio, The Pick and Post, and many others. Ernie's motto is, be fearless and don't take yourself too seriously. So from Figure 5, Arkansas, here's Ernie Hill. Do your thing.
Thank you, Sandra and Zeek. Thank you all for having me here. We had a nice drive up here. We live down at Figure 5, which is near Rudy. Y'all know where that is? Okay. It's about 20 miles southwest as a crow flies from Chester. Which is about another 40 miles south of Fayetteville. So, Figure 5 is, I think it was an Army Civil War stop between Van Buren and the Pea Ridge area. They had these stops marked off as, along the line. I think Figure 5 is one of those, but we've been there about 40 years. And used to get up here every now and then, years and years ago, and play some music and visit around. And we were talking about stories. And when Sandra came down to Van Buren, to our little folk club down there, it's called the Arkansas Travelers Folk Club. We meet the second Sunday of every month. We have a little history update about the area, and then we have a circle of songs, poetry, tales. Everybody's welcome, everybody can participate, and everybody's in the circle. Nobody has their back to anybody. That's my wife's idea. We keep it that way. So Sandra told us about what was going on up here, and asked me about it, and I thought, that sounds like a lot of fun, because I do tell stories. I never set out to be a storyteller. It just sort of happened. But when she told me that the stories need to be written and read, that kind of threw me, because I'm not used to that. I write a lot, but I write music journalism, and never made a penny. I know the intro said that I had 450,000 times I was published by the Walnut Valley Festival, which is true, and it was all for barter. We bartered for everything up there, and we still do that. It's a wonderful perk.
Play for perks.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, I have some true life stories, and I'll just type these down and see if I can come up with enough to fill an hour or so. And I wound up almost with a book. and I do have another book of poems and lyrics that I put together mainly to keep my kids from having to go through all this stuff. When I check out, it's going to be handy, so they can just toss it or give it to somebody they know. This stuff's available on my website, wordsofernest.com. I have cards that have that website URL on it, and there are free downloads there for music if you hear something you like. Every song I write is pretty much a story song. I really suck at trying to write a feelings song. It just doesn't work. When I was a young man coming out of high school, I went into my first job, and was making menial labor wages. And there's this ad for a songwriting workshop in Tulsa, and I was living in Sallisaw where I grew up, so I thought I'll audition for that and see what happens, So you had to audition, and you had to pay $100, and I had to drive 100 miles once a week for 6 weeks. And at the end of the workshop, I hadn't really learned anything because they didn't teach songwriting. They taught how to recognize a hit and the components of a hit and what it amounted to. And when it was all over, we got to do a showcase for a Nashville executive, and that was our big payoff. And he told me that he thought I possessed the talent to write a hit, and I never heard any more about it, and I never did write a hit. I came away with this. I had been exposed already to Doc Watson and Woody Guthrie and Otto Guthrie, and so the commercial thing wasn't really gelling with me, but I thought, okay, this is my country song, and I'll do it without a guitar. It's called Sleazy. And it goes, there you lay on the bed with your hands on your head from too much dancing and too much drinking at the bar. Well, the music was bad, but it makes me glad because the words helped me get you this far. Well, you know that it's sleazy and you know that it's wrong, but you know that it sure makes a good country song. That was the end of that. Well, thank you. So we talked about structure, and I thought it sounded okay. And I told her too that the muse really hits me hard, especially when the moon's full. And so I'm getting hit pretty hard right now, so I don't know what's going to come out. I will give you a warning. I am an empath. I didn't realize this, but all my life I was very sensitive to everything around me, and I never really knew why. I mean, a leaf could be pushed off of a tree and fall, and I get tears. Somebody else's kid could graduate, I get tears. Somebody else could get in trouble, I'd laugh. But I noticed that at times I would be playing a gig, and the people would come up close, and for no reason I'd just get tearful. I would think, why am I doing this? I mean, I'm not doing anything sad. What's going on here? I found out later somebody in that audience was having a deep, and I can feel it now, a deep emotional problem, and that was hitting me. So I read about this. I understood how empaths work and the things that afflict empaths, and I just try, I can't blow it off, but I just try to wade right on through it. So if I'm telling you a joke and I start crying, you need to go ahead and laugh because it's, that's the way I operate. So while I'm thinking about it, we're on our way up here, and we're probably about 6 miles out of Rudy, and this guy come over the hill towards us, big guy, and he was all hunkered down. All I could see were 2 little bitty wheels, and he was riding on this Vespa, a scooter, and I mean, he was booking, he was traveling, and we both got a kick out of it, and I thought, wow, this same thing happened to me several years ago in Springdale. It's odd that an oddity like this happens twice in your lifetime. But I was stuck in traffic, and I looked down to my left, and I could see this spiked helmet. And I thought, well, a biker, but I couldn't hear anything. I thought, well, it's a really quiet bike. It must be a BMW or something really fancy like that, But the light turned green, so he whoops around in front of me. Same thing, great big man, heavy biker jacket, heavy biker gear, 2 little bitty wheels. And he was riding a Vespa. And he turned sideways, had that cigarette hanging off the lower lip. I thought, this is cool. But I wrote this about that particular episode, and it's called Vespa Man, and it's kind of a poem story. I love it. When I see someone riding down the busy boulevard, helmet and goggles, a cigarette hanging out one corner of his mouth, going all Peter Fonda with that Easy Rider look, doing 30 miles an hour on his Vespa. This is part of the America I see every day. This is my America. Independence Day is coming, so be independent. Speak your mind without fear. Be who you are without fear. March your march and sing your song with color and determination, because this is your America, America. Independence Day is coming. Be independent. You and I do not have to let these so-called parties party away on our working folks' dime. Always remember why our forefathers fought for our freedom from tyranny, and let us dare never let that freedom slip away. Never forget the why behind the red, white, and blue. This is still our country, our home. Don't think it can't go away, not for a minute. Long live that easy-riding Peter Fonda Vespa man. May he lead his pack of wild angels into the sunset horizon of his imagination, because he's probably getting about 70 miles to a gallon of gas. Let's be one, America. One huge box of 64 colors of crayons with those colors spilling all outside the lines. Independent indeed. Indeed, brothers and sisters. Red and yellow, black, white, brown, and pink is in there too. Remember the reason as you celebrate, and remember, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. We are America. Thank you. So I guess I'll tell you a little story here. We'll read this and it leads into a song. It's been a while back, but it's very important. I'll just read this. It's very important for me to be able to go to the restroom whenever I want to go, or wherever I need to go, especially at this age. And you know, in a camping situation, it's even more important to be able to know you can relax and get the job done. So you know, before we got the Glamper, we had a pop-up, and we bought one of those 3-gallon camping buddies that flushes. Hey man, that's a great investment, but still not quite right for inside a pop-up with others having to deal with the vapors of being in close quarters. So I would still head to the job, Johnny. Because it's nice to know that when I'm in an environment, say, like at a festival, and there are hundreds or thousands of people, there are plenty of clean porta pots. Well, I wait until early morning, right after they were pumped and cleaned, to go sit, make my contribution to the world, and read. So I was in one of these porta pots when I read the newspaper, the issue that spacemen were having trouble trying to have a bowel movement in outer space with zero gravity. And I sympathize totally. Just picture sitting on the toilet with no gravity. This brought back memories of when I was a kid. My dad would take me to the lake to go fishing. We'd start early and stay late. If I had to do the number 2, Dad would just tell me to hop over the side, swim about 20 feet away, and let her rip. Oh, this is gross. Sometimes refuge floats, and there you have a similar no-gravity bowel movement experience. So I tried to state this nicely. At the time I read about this space toilet issue, I was selling these amazing ozone-producing air purifiers that theoretically cause negative and positive ions to join together and clump around particles in the air and cause them to fall, thereby cleaning the air. I wondered how something like this could work in space. At least there would be a clumping effect and maybe a space cat or litter scoop. But imagine trying to dump a scoop of clump poop with no gravity. So instead I wrote this song. I'm sitting up here with the toilet paper, contemplating gravity and vapor. It's my first time in space, and there's stuff floating around my face. Now what would it have been worth if I'd have gone before I left the earth? Well, I never saw Captain Kirk or Scotty ever attempt a trip to the potty, and now I know why. No gravity makes stuff fly, and I'm looking all around, dodging particles that won't fall down. Oh, put me back on my own planet. I wanna know I can go to the can. It shouldn't be like this. Oh, what about heavenly bliss? I can't even take a picture of what might develop from this mixture. I don't want to be a spaceman. I'd rather be back in my own place, man. I want to be nice and neat and sit securely on the street. See, and no, I don't have to rush, and everything goes down with just one flush. Oh, I don't want to be a spaceman. He doesn't want to be a spaceman. I don't want to be a spaceman. He doesn't want to be a spaceman. Thank you. This story is just a little longer. And it's a little about my life. It's true. It's all true. Everything you've heard so far has been true, with the exception of the Spaceman song, which was mostly true. But that same festival, it's the Walnut Valley Festival in Winfield, Kansas. It's a great festival. It's all kinds of acoustic music. It's spread out over 600 acres, and we've been going for like 40 years. And one of my jobs was to walk around and interview people for the little daily festival paper. They actually made a daily festival paper. And in those days, all I had was an iPod with an earbud and a plastic spoon that I had converted into a microphone. So I'd take that earbud and tape it to the spoon where I could hold it and walk around, and people hoped they would take me serious. So this one guy, he also became a good friend, Steve Banjo Picker. he was there early in the morning. Just to briefly put it, they have this procedure to get to your camping spot. It's called a land run. You're actually there 13 days early for a 4-day festival. If you want to get to your spot, that's what you have to do. And this was before daylight, and things were getting ready to line up. People were excited. They had their campers and their tents and whatever, just all crammed here and there, waiting to be orderly marched to the campground so they could drop out and get to their spot. Well, Steve really had to go, and he had no way to go. Well, they had just brought in the porta pots on a truck, and they just unloaded them all, and there were 3 or 4 or 5 rows with a forklift. He thought, I can do this, there's time. So he runs to one of the porta pots, and he hops in, and he slams the door shut, and he starts doing his thing, and all of a sudden, it starts shaking and moving, and a forklift operator was going to take these things around the park, and that's the one he picked up. And he tilted it back, and it was a bumpy ride, and it was clean, of course. He had blue liquid all over him, and he didn't know where he was when they set him down because it was still dark. And it scared people when he walked back into camp because he was dripping with all this blue stuff. He'd just come from the river. And X-Files was pretty big in those days. So I don't know exactly what happened after that, but that was one of the stories that came from that. But how I got to that point, I don't know. I graduated at Sallisaw High in 1975, literally. I graduated from Sallisaw High in 1975 from Sallisaw High School, very literally high, stoned on marijuana, with little fanfare but an epic graduation party. You see, there was this gang I belonged to. Now, we weren't a gangsta gang. We were a bunch of Sequoia County boys and some girls who had a few things in common. We were poor, we weren't jocks, and we loved to party. You see, I grew up in a strange church, and my activities were limited to things that weren't worldly, which is just about everything. This church taught that when you die, you're just dead. No heaven, at least not for everyone, just a select number, no purgatory, no trapped spirits here on earth, and best of all, no hell. So while the other kids at school were celebrating Christmas, singing songs like Noel, segregated little me sang, "No hell, let the party begin." It was like a hall pass to rule-breaking, law-breaking, and untethered exploration. But there was a downside. I believed in God because it was groomed into my head and heart, but I also believed in spirits. And my church said anything that seemed like a spirit or a ghost was either the imagination or demons. And what are demons? Are they fallen angels? Spirits? I was taught that there was no soul that could separate from the body, therefore there could be no ghosts. But as a young kid, a toddler, I often dreamed that I left my body. I remember my 3rd birthday running around the front yard in Oak Lawn, Kansas, wearing only green shorts, no shirt, shouting, I'm 3 years old, over and over. Only we didn't celebrate birthdays either, so there was no party, no cake, no presents, just this teeny feeling that I had achieved something great. But my point here is, I remembered at that age, and I remember quite a bit about that age, that house. Our overprotective lassie collie, Star, would drive me back into the yard by my pants legs whenever I would venture out into the sidewalk, where the milkman would leave glass bottles of milk at our door, and my crazy bully older brother Sam Jr. would strip off and run to the back of that milk delivery truck and slide in behind the army green canvas door cover that was secured with a chain curtain. And yes, he did this a few times, butt naked, drinking chocolate milk and tossing the empty bottles out the back. The police caught him. According to what I heard Mom and Dad say to each other, they caught him and brought him home. And I remember him breaking loose from the policeman and Dad and running to the TV antenna pole and shimmying up to it onto the roof, butt naked. Dad talked him down with offers of chocolate milk, but when he got his hands on him, he spanked that naked butt. Butt naked Sam. Incredibly creatively gifted in so many ways, but a true light dark Gemini. He would give you the shirt off his back and steal the shoes off your feet at the same time. Now I remember when he got married, he rented this cabin on Badger Mountain, about a mile from where I grew up in Sequoia County, Oklahoma. And this was about 1973. Sam and his bride lived there, and it was totally primitive. No power, no running water, way the heck off the road. They hadn't been there long when I drove my '63 burnt orange Chevy Impala up to his place just as a heavy rain hit. I ran to the door. Tawana, his new bride, greeted me. She said, "Come on in, Sam's around back taking a shower." So I walked through the house that was lit with a few kerosene lamps to the back door, and there stood Sam out in the backyard in the rain, bar soap in hand, soaping up, butt naked. Yep, my older brother, rest his soul. My late mother's name was Elma, E-L-M-A, O'Dean Harp, and my middle name is Dean. That came from her middle name. Mom played guitar and wrote songs. She taught me my first chords and how to pick wildwood flower. She grew up in that region around Sequoia County. Her dad, James Harp, was a farmer, a sharecropper, and a fiddler. Both of her brothers, Chester and Travis, were fiddlers too, and her sister Laverne played guitar and sang, and the four of them played the local radio station show in Fort Smith at KWHN. So when Dad was stationed at Fort Chaffee near Fort Smith, he met Mom, who was a waitress at a downtown restaurant. And when I was a toddler in Kansas, Mom taught us to sing harmonies. She wanted us to have an instrument each, something we wanted to play. So my brother Sam wanted a saxophone. He got one. My sister Kay, a beautiful soul, wanted a piano, and they bought her one. I wanted an electric guitar, but I didn't know what they were called, so I said I wanted a steel guitar. They bought me an old Gretsch laptop still with an amp. It was cool. Sam soon got bored with sax and picked up Mom's old Gibson acoustic. Kay stuck with piano, but also enjoyed acoustic guitar, and I moved from steel to piano. After our West Coast migrant worker gig, we settled in Sequoia County. Dad got a job welding and made enough money to make a down payment on a DX service station. Mom worked at a furniture factory in Fort Smith. And I'd spend my days alone outside with my 3 dogs and walk the ditches for miles, it seemed, picking up soda bottles and loading them into a burlap sack, or gunny sack we called it. And when I filled my bag, my folks would take me to town to get the deposit refunded. The 20-acre farm Dad bought was in Badger Community, about 6 miles north of Salisaw. To the southwest was Badger Mountain. To the north was Brushy Mountain, the last of the west-lying Ozark mountain range. My closest friend Curtis lived about a quarter mile down the road. My closest friend Charlie lived a full 2 miles east of us, and we managed to meet up, usually at my house, play ball, basketball, football, baseball. Sometimes we go squirrel hunting. Our little gang formed in junior high on the school bus and just off campus. Charlie smoked. He talked me into it. Soon Charlie, Curtis, me, and the Barker brothers, the House brothers, the Hoover brothers, and the James sisters had formed quite a clique of misfits, and we'd hung out just off the school grounds and smoke and experiment with cussing, spitting, and sometimes kissing the James sisters. The James sisters were pretty tough, so they had to want to be kissed. It was a group formed more out of convenience. We'd meet at Salisaw Creek just north of Badger Mountain and party. Mom had given me permission to play her guitar, and after learning some chords, I began to cover my favorite songs. One night, as a freshman in junior high, I heard this guy play at a school function, Gary Buck Boyd. He was playing these songs by the Band of America. I was hooked. I used pop bottle money to buy myself a Mel Bay guitar chord book, and I played chords until I found the ones that sounded like the chords of some of America's songs, major 7th and minor 7th chords. Mom had no idea nor concern where I was headed with these off chords. The summer between 9th and 10th grade, I worked hauling hay and also at a 24-hour family pool hall and arcade, and made enough money to buy a beat-up, oxidized red 65 Mustang that had been rigged with a 390 cubic inch engine. The motor mounts were welded tire tools from the engine to the frame. There was a hole in the hood so the engine breather could stick out and you could shut the hood. I was proud of it, but the front end was so heavy you couldn't take off without burning rubber. I remember driving it to school with only a learner's permit and parking beside the other cars. My friend Rick was standing there on the sidewalk in front of it, and he was the first dry humid person I ever met. I said, "It looks mean, doesn't it?" He said, "You'd be mean too if you look like that. Anybody get hurt in that wreck?" About a week and 2 more blowouts, Dad decided it was too dangerous and he sold it. He helped me buy a Tamer 63 Chevy Impala, faded burnt orange with 1 white door, and smoked like a freight train. First day I drove it to school, there stood Rick. "Man, that thing smoked so bad you left a trail of dead bugs all the way from Badger Mountain." As a sophomore, I was playing enough guitar to feel confident to take it around with me. I also started dipping snuff. In the evenings, I would take a solid colored aluminum cup and pretend I was sipping tea and join the family for evening TV. Only my brother knew I was using the cup for a spittoon. From my couch seat and out the window, I could see Badger Mountain. One evening, I was strumming these 2 chords, C major 7 and F major 7, thinking about a party the weekend before at the creek. Small gathering, mostly our gang, and I sang some songs. We all sang some songs, just me playing through anyway. The words of the song came to me, I wrote it down all at once. My first song, Badger Mountain Woods. I knew it clicked, I liked it. I took my guitar to another party, and Buck Boyd was there, and I played it for him. He was kind. He said, "Let's play sometime." Not long after that, we had a band with a local DJ, Jim, friend Janice, EJ Buck Incorporated. Since Jim was a DJ, we got to use the station studio to record, and we played the songs we wrote. Badger Mountain Woods, and Even on a Rainy Day, both mine, were local hits. We didn't make a penny. We were called on to play functions and parties, and we weren't a dance band. We were bubblegum, a bunch of songwriters in the 10th grade. I'm going to play that song for you, Badger Mountain Woods. And I just sit around fiddling with these chords. Right in the heart of cowboy country. with my friends. Wondering if this here night is ever gonna end. The rain stopped falling yesterday and things are looking good. I think I'll sing this song about the Badger Mountain Woods. I think I'll sing this song about the Badger Mountain Woods. On a warm night like this, the frogs are crowing words of love, and a coyote yelps with a little help from a lonesome turtle dove. And now holding you tight, the bright moonlight gives me rushes that are good. I like walking barefoot down the old creek road in the Badger Mountain Woods. I like walking barefoot down the old creek road in the Badger Mountain Woods. And now everyone is trying to get ahead, son. And they're going at it like a crazy person would. Because as long as I can pick on this old guitar, I think I'd rather be lost with you. No, I'd rather be lost with you. Well, I'm sure I'd love to be lost with you in the Badger Mountain Woods. Well, it's dawn now. I see the sun is shining through the trees, and it sparkles on the water, cool and clear. And now the whippoorwills are singing to the daisies on the hill. I know heaven can't be much too far from here. I know heaven can't be much too far from here. Now everyone is trying to get ahead, son. And they're going at it like a crazy person would. Because as long as I can pick on this old guitar, I think I'd rather get lost with you. No, I'd rather get lost with you. Well, I'm sure I'd love to get lost with you in the Badger Mountain Woods. In the Badger Mountain Woods, well, the fire's dying down now, and I think it's time to go. I do appreciate that. Well, as time went on, our gang grew. I began to drift, spending more time alone, questioning this and that, especially religion. How can my religion be the only true religion, especially when the Hebrew alphabet was so vague? Who gave the English the right to turn YHWH into JHVH and Yeshua into Jesus? I mean, if I went to Spain, would my name automatically become Ernesto? Hardly not. It'd still be Ernie. I had a good friend whose name was Ernesto. He called me Ernie. That's another story. I'll have to tell it one of these days. I wrote more songs, worked long summers and part-time jobs during school. I got active in drama and speech, competed, won, and wrote songs. Buck became one of my closest friends, and he still is to this day. Our gang. We smoked, we drank, we were potheads. We were mushroom heads, heck, psilocybin. It grew wild in the fields below our place. Evidently, some sort of combination of ryegrass and cow turds created the perfect environment for these mushroom spores. We found out later there was something in the feed that farmers used that nurtured this paramedical phenomenon. I'll never forget getting up early on a Saturday morning to hear my dog barking. I stepped out onto the back porch and could see people walking around those fields. A few cars parked along the dirt roads beside the fields. I put on my shoes and I walked down to the fence. I recognized a few older guys and one girl. I asked them what they were picking. Shrooms. Come on, Ernie. I joined them. One of the guys explained what we were looking for. As we walked along, looking and finding, I ate a few of the buttons, they were called, the tiny new baby mushrooms before they mushroomed. Before long, I felt like I was flying. I drove to town, I picked up some of the brothers and told them all about it. Next morning, we cashed in. That night, we were at the Safeway parking lot passing out free paper cups of mushroom tea mixed with Wilder's pink lemonade to anyone who wanted some. We made 5 gallons at a time. The police had no idea what we were doing. Mushrooms had not made the illegal illicit drugs in our area yet, and much like marijuana, enjoyed a good year until the news caught up with it all. We were juniors in high school with my good friend Paul and his wife Rhonda. If they were married with one kid in the 10th grade. Anyway, they were busted in pot. They were the first people in Sequoia County to get busted for pot. Well, my friend Charlie and I drove my old Chevy to the trial. We entered the courthouse lobby. There was quite a commotion. The lobby was packed. People were jammed in a circle. We squeezed to the center, and there was a huge pile of what looked like river cane. A deputy, Barney Taylor, for real, that was his name, Barney Taylor, was standing there. Barney Fife, Andy Taylor, I swear. His name was Barney Taylor. Charlie knew him. He was a family friend, so we stood by him, and he explained to us that this was all about marijuana and began to tell us about all the evils of this weed. It had been found thanks to an anonymous tip. The grower was still at large. Charlie picked up a plant and began asking Barney questions about it as he stroked the leaves. Turned out Paul and Rhonda got off with a fine and probation. Me and Charlie just got off, because when we got back to my car, Charlie was giggling, and I said, "What are you laughing at, Charlie?" He unbuttoned his sleeve and began pulling out fresh marijuana leaves. While Barney was educating him, he was stripping leaves and poking them into his shirt cuff. We stopped at the convenience store and got some paper towels from the bathroom, wrapped the weed in those towels, and I put them in the breather compartment of my car engine, and we drove around for about an hour until we thought the weed had dried. It turned out to be pretty good. By the time we graduated, we were somewhat notorious, so we avoided town. We'd meet at the coal mines south of town. They were strip pits, little lakes filled with crystal clear water. That was our secret for some time. Word would get out that there was going to be a prayer meeting that night, and we knew to quietly slip out of town and head that way. I could buy alcohol at Skip Kempney's West Side liquor store before I turned 18. I had heard that Skip was pretty loose about it. One day, some of us decided to skip the afternoon classes, so we pulled our change and came up with enough for a few bottles of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. And this would be my first attempt at buying liquor. So I pulled into the parking lot, a crew truck pulled in beside me, some guys hopped out wearing hard hats. As fortune would have it, I just happened to have a hard hat that I picked up along the roadside. I put it on, I blended right in. Skip never questioned me. Later in the year, I wore it on a Saturday night. He asked me if I'd been working overtime and he grinned. Skip eventually got busted, and I didn't see him again until he ran a stop sign broadside of me. It was a crazy situation. Dad and me had just gotten into town from a trip to Virginia to see relatives. We hadn't had a beer the whole trip back. We grabbed a six-pack of Schlitz when we got to town and opened a can each. Just as Skip pulled out and hit us, knocking the beer out of my hands, spewing it all over me and Dad. No one was hurt. This happened right in front of Sheriff Bill Lockhart's house. The city policeman on duty, Walter Dale Matthews, just happened to drive up. He turned on his siren and lights and got out. He made me get out. Dad got out. Skip was slumped over the steering wheel. Bill came out wearing cut-off jeans and a tank top. Walter Dale held up a beer can and yelled, "DUI, I'm pretty sure." Bill checked on Skip, who had just passed out from his own alcoholic issues, not the collision. Bill walked over to us. He recognized Dad, and he said, "Walter Dale, shut off those lights and siren and get Skip home. He's pretty drunk. I'll handle the hills." Dad explained what happened and offered Sheriff Bill a beer. He politely refused. "Y'all go on home now and don't open another one until you get to your house." As soon as we hit the dirt road to the house, Dad opened two more and we drove on home. I was pretty lucky to avoid the law in those days. Most of my gang, not so much. Some of them got popped for this or that. I stayed to myself pretty much. The parties didn't attract me. Prayer meetings were fine though. Several years ago, I was reminded of that. I'd been out working around the barn. I was listening to Jerry Jeff Walker and was inspired to write this song about those prayer meetings. All those prayer meetings at the coal pit south of town. Nobody ever had a Bible, but we all got down. All those lessons in survival made me wonder what it might have been if I knew now what I knew then. Now here I am living in my 60s, and I'm sure glad I got this far. Well, I don't know how I got us here, but I sure know where we are. I just look out the window with the kids and the glass and the bats and the balls and the rocks and the glass, and there's a picture of my Savior on the wall in the hall. And my wife is napping on the sofa, and I'm standing in the kitchen cooking meatloaf, so happy to be here, but I don't know how I got here at all. And when I think about the 70s, Watergate, and cable TV, and all my role models, the hippies moving out near the farm. Well, I worked real hard to try to stay in school, but sometimes I sort of feel like a fool when I think of all the things I did that couldn't do me no harm. Like all those prayer meetings at the coal pit south of town. Nobody ever had a Bible, but we all got down. All those lessons in survival made me wonder what it might have been if I knew now what I knew then. I saw Elizabeth working at the cafe in my hometown. She'd been living out in Mexico, now she's coming home to settle down. We recognized each other's faces. For 20 years we'd been living other places, and our standards in the social pressure race was no disgrace. But we were both relieved when we we said each other's names through the years. Neither one of us had gathered much fame, but we both agreed there must have been a lot of things we lost without a trace. And on the way back home, I recall, I'm sure I had big plans for post-graduation fall. I had some great ideas, but I didn't want the gym to go away. And I wonder about the folks who used to go to that pit and how many of them could really call it with all the smoking and the drinking and the heavy-duty drinking of the day. All the prayer meetings in the cold pit south of town. Nobody ever had a Bible, but we all got down. And all those lessons in survival made me wonder what it might have been if I knew now what I knew then. I spent a lot of my time stretched out at the creek on a rock. I must have inhaled and exhaled enough to give myself a mental block. And I must agree I avoided some pain because I divided my brain like the cars on a train. And I swear I must have lost all the keys to the locks but one. I look at kids today and they sure seem lucky. Well, I made it through the 70s. I must be lucky. Just a part of me is missing, but it sure must have been a lot of fun. I look out the window with the kids in the grass and the bats and the balls and the dogs and the grass, and that grass keeps going, but still there's a piece of my soul. Yeah, all those kids today, they sure are plucky. I made it through the 70s and must be lucky. Just that part of me is missing, and it's sure something I would love to know. Thank you. So that song had a story behind it, and the story was true. Right down to meeting Elizabeth. So. Yeah, I got a story about it. We just had a banjo picker walk in, as a matter of fact. I can just tell you the story. The story is covered in the book, The Cosmic Path to Melody and Lyric. I've got about 8 of these left, self-published, self-printed. A good friend of mine from up in Chicago worked with me on festival programs with the artist. And I think he did a brilliant job with it. It's a beautiful book, if nothing else. And he sent the picture on the back of my wife and I. He sent that to us when he finished it. But his name is John Griffin. He's a muse artist. Done a lot of work for Todd Snyder and some other folks. He sent me all kinds of illustrations, and I put them together in a book. But towards the end of the book, I tell a story about this fiddle. It's called the Taz fiddle. We would take frequent trips to Virginia and to visit my grandmother, Daisy. And my dad's mother, she was the great niece of Randolph McCoy, who was the clan leader of the infamous McCoy clan of the Hatfield-McCoy feud bunch. And she was nice, and she wasn't near there, but she lived in a little spot on the Tom-Bottom branch of the Russell Fork River, so far back in the mountains that if you went any further, you start coming out the other side. So we go out there on those trips, and at this particular trip, I was about 14. I think everything that ever happened to me in the formidable years occurred when I was either 8 or 14. All my stories start like that, I guess. But I was sitting on the porch with a guitar, and I was playing some Jim Croce stuff, working on those major 7th and minor 7th chords. And here comes this man loping down the road, and he's all hunched over, and he had a pretty good gait to him, almost with a rhythm going on in his head. And he had his head down, he had a dirty grayish fedora and a dirty jacket, and his jeans was all covered with coal dust. Every house back there had a swinging bridge because the bridge ran right in front of the house and it would swell, so no one could park at their house. They all had parked on the road, and you'd have to cross the swinging bridge to get there. So I'm sitting there on the porch watching him, and he comes loping up across the bridge. He's got a fiddle case in his hand. And I thought, well, he's probably a nice guy, but I was still kind of scared. He looked like Jack Elam, the guy from the old Westerns, The one, he didn't have the cross eye though, both of his eyes were straight, and he looked me square in the eye and he said, "You want to buy this?" And I thought, I don't have any money, I'm 14. And I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's a fiddle." And he opened the case and he took it out, showed it to me, and I thought it was strange looking because it was shiny in parts and dull in other parts, And he told me that he had been riding along one of those back roads in the back of a pickup truck, and he had dropped the fiddle out the back and busted it. And so he carved the top out of local pine and this part of the side, put it back together, and he wanted $20 for it. So I told Mom, there's a man out there who wants to sell me a fiddle, $20. So she comes out there and she picked it up and she played just a little bit of a tune called Get Along Home Little Cindy. she handed the fiddle to me and she says, "You can have it for $20." So I bought the fiddle and I messed around with it. It was real frustrating because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And all I could do was make sounds like this. And I remember Dad saying, "You just wrote a song, didn't you? It sounds like two cats fighting. I think you might have stole that tune." But needless to say, anyway, I did mess with it for a while, and the frustration overwhelmed me, and the band and the gang and being a kid and all that stuff, and I just laid it away. And I get it out every now and then and play on it. And I started getting into old-time music, and not your typical stereotypical background music, the Beverly Hillbillies or hee-haw, but the rich mountain music, the Scott-Irish music that survived all these layers of bastardizations that made it into the mountains, onto the porches. And people play for dances and things like that. That grabbed me. I thought, wow, I've got a fiddle. I think I'm going to learn some of this stuff, Hey, yeah, well, I met this guy, giant old man with a heart of gold. Hell of a banjo player. He's sitting right back there. He just walked in. We started jamming, and the band we had, we were called the Wild Hickory Nuts. And when we decided to, like the Ewell Gibbons Grape Nuts commercial, the wild it tastes like wild hickory nuts, that's what we wanted people to think about us, We were going to make a record, and I went online to search and see if it was okay, to use that name. Sure enough, this guy writes me from Knott's Berry Farm, and he says, "Cease and desist." He says, we are the Wild Hickory Nuts, and you must change your band name. And if you decide to be a dead cover band, don't call yourself the Grateful Dead, because we already have that one too. I thought, oh, you're nice. So we just stuck the word mountain in there, and we became the Wild Mountain Hickory Nuts. And, yeah. So I had reached a block point in my life with writing and with music, and usually when I do that, I discovered if I would wait for the phases of the moon to start happening, and when the moon would get full, and I would go crazy, and all these ideas would just come right on through. And sometimes literally right on through, so you kind of had to slap that one ear to keep them in there for a while. And they could bounce around and roll around, and sometimes they would come back out. And sometimes they would sound totally different, and sometimes they would sound familiar. And I learned that there are people who make their living with this familiarity by taking these songs and rewriting them, and making their own thing out of them, So I wondered why people do that. And then I started wondering where do these songs come from? How does this happen? Why do I sit down and a melody drift through or a line come through sometimes at the same time? What's going on here? Why does it happen? And I had written a tune, and I'd heard it later from a friend. I thought, this is my song. And this friend explained, no, it's not your song. I wrote the song from somebody else's song. I thought, well, gee, that's a lot of relief. That's a lot of comfort. Thanks, it's a nice practice. And I started doing a little bit of research, and I found out that in some of these workshops, in order to make a living and give a student a product to walk out of the workshop with, some songwriters will tell you to take a tune that you love, that's familiar to you, and tweak it here and there, and tweak the lyrics and make it your own. And men radio music all sounds alike, and you have to be part of that. So I had my little jolt, and during my 600-mile-a-week commute to work and back, I pondered into my voice recorder, and that's where the book came from. I thought about all this stuff. I did some research, and I did some thinking. I actually have a picture of a guy holding a book like this. I thought, yeah, you really read it, didn't you? But anyway, it's the cosmic path to melody and lyric. It is interesting. There are quotes in the book from other songwriters about their process and what goes on with it. So the song that happened, oddly enough, about 10 years later, I had befriended a fiddler from California that did some work for him. And we became good friends. He sent me his album. There's a song on there called Davey, Come On Home and Act Like You Ought To. I listened to it and I thought, damn, that's my song again. And it was not. I realized that somewhere in my life, as I had been roaming around campground to campground, playing tune after tune after tune, every new note that I had ever heard in my life had bounced around off the sides of my empty head and came out as a song. Now, sometimes those notes come out in different varieties, and there'll be a song that is original, the tune's original. Sometimes it's something else that somebody else did. So my theory on that is, if you write a song and someone hears that song and they say, wow, that is such and such note for note, well, then you tell that person, you know what, that bounced out of my head. You're probably right. I have no idea who wrote it, but I thank that person. If you know who wrote it, give them credit for it. Say, hey man, hey, John Hartford came up with this fiddle tune. I made this from his fiddle tune. What do you think? Give that person credit for it, because people at our level aren't making a lot of money writing songs. I can tell you. Anyway, back to Tazewell. I wrote this song about Tazewell, and I want to play it for you. And it's solo fiddle, and you'll probably wish it was solo. You couldn't hear it by the time I'm through with it, especially if this page flips over and I have to stop right in the middle of it and flip it back. I think it's going to be okay though. And if you're an old-time fiddle aficionado, you'll recognize this as Daddy, come on home and act like you ought to, with words. Tazewell, I couldn't come to it. He ain't around to hear this song. Yeah, Tazewell's dead and he never will hear it, 'cause there ain't no music when the fiddler's gone. Now when I was 14, I bought this fiddle off an old coal miner named Tazewell Hayes. And I paid $20 for the fiddle, little when I hold this fiddle, I think of those days. Yeah, I gave $20 for this here fiddle, and the back is in Virginia pine. And well, the back is cracked and it's real cheap maple. It's a piece of junk, but it sure plays fine. This mic has a thing for me. But the fiddle like Taz, I didn't come near it. He ain't around to hear this song. Yeah, Tazewell's dead and he never will hear, 'cause there ain't no music when the fiddle is gone. He had a clapboard shack on the Russell Fork River, and he liked to talk about the good old days. And that old black lung made him shake and shiver. He became my friend, that Tazewell Hayes. He was riding in the back of a pickup truck. He hit a bump on a curve and he couldn't hold on. Well, he cracked his fiddle and he whittled out a new type of breathing day while I'm playing this song. Now Tazewell hacked and coughed and black lung shook so bad he couldn't hold the bow. And he put away a six-pack of Black Label beer. That cold Black Label made the coal miner go. Now he played a little bit of that clinch mountain backstep, Cluck O'Hen and Liza Jane. When that sixth beer hit, he wouldn't shake at all, and he saw this fiddle like he had no pain. But the fiddle like Tazewell, I couldn't come near it. He ain't around to hear this song. Yeah, Tazewell's dead and he never will hear. There ain't no music when the fiddler's gone. About 20 years later, Taz fell off a flatbed, broke his neck, and now the fiddler's gone. Well, he died on the curb, but he cracked this fiddle, and I'm gonna make sure this fiddle is on. Now some say the devil is a hillbilly fiddler who runs the hills where the fiddle men go. And he preys on the poor, hard-working, downhearted, and I've heard he took poor Tazewell's soul. And I spend $2 for every dollar I make, and you can't go back to those good old days. So I sit on my porch, play a hillbilly fiddle, and I toss back a cold one for Tazewell Hayes. So I should tell you a tale about the lonesome banjo. It's sitting over here all by itself, waiting for somebody to play it. And it would tickle me to death if my buddy Brandon would just stand there and play some clawhammer behind the tune. Yeah, he's laughing at me. This is the guy that woke me up, and Brandon Wooden, fine banjo picker, fine musician, fine guitar species. And Brandon woke me up out of our camper trailer at Winfield one time at 2 a.m, banging on the door. We're up, you gotta get up, we're up. I thought, what the hell, man? It's Sunday morning, 2 a.m, it's about time to go home. And we were on this waiting list to play on this big campground stage called Stage 5. And of course, some people backed out when they heard that Tommy Emmanuel, or if y'all heard of Tommy Emmanuel, he's an Australian guitarist, and Chet Akins admired Tommy Emmanuel. He was just a fantastic guitarist, but sometimes these main stage artists would come out into the campgrounds and play the Stage 5 because people could drink out there and smoke, whatever they wanted to do, and they would just pack out. Well, I guess when the band heard that they had to follow Tommy Emmanuel, they chickened out, but not Brandon. He comes banging on the door saying, we gotta get up, man, we gotta do this, we're gonna follow Tommy Emmanuel. I thought, well, this might be fun. So we started downing coffee and grabbed a guitar player, and Brandon's former wife, was playing the bass with us, and we got up there behind the stage, and the energy from Tommy Emmanuel was just to the point that our hair was standing on end. I mean, it was rich. It was really rich because they were screaming for Tommy Emmanuel, and it was the last live event to be going on out there in the campground up in Winfield, and everyone was excited and everyone was drunk and they didn't want to go home. So when we stepped out on the stage to play our old-time music, they treated us like we were just super special. And Tommy came running off the stage, he was all pumped up, full of energy, and I patted him on the back. And I said, hey man, thanks for opening for us. And he stops, he goes, oh yeah, mate, knock him out. And we had fun. Yeah, so Brandon, I brought the banjo because Sandra saw me with one down there and assumed I could play it. And I thought, I can play a couple of tunes, I'm just learning it. So Brandon plays a style called clawhammer banjo, which predates the Bill Monroe bluegrass style. And it's a sound produced by dropping your thumb down to the 5th string and bouncing on the strings like that. It's pretty cool.
cut strings, but
oh yeah,
thank you, but yeah, I appreciate it.
I want to get Brandon to do one more, and we'll. I don't know where we are. I know we're in Eureka Springs, and I've got GPS, so I know how to get out of here. We're going to do another tune called "Sal's Got Mud Between Their Toes."
It's one of yours.
Yeah, no, it's actually not. I wish it was one of them. Yeah, I wrote that song, sure.
Yeah, why not? By the time I get done playing with it.
That's how songwriters, that's how they get to be known. They'll play a song and somebody go, "Did you write that?" And whether it was a cover or not, you say,
Just do it wrong.
You bet. Yeah, I wrote
If
that.
you play a song that's already out there, but you play it wrong,
Yeah,
then it's your song.
that's right. That's right. Then you're a songwriter. This is a traditional tune called Sal, S-A-L. I know it sounds like I'm saying Sal. Sal's got mud between her toes. It's got 3 parts to it. They're all pretty much the same.
I missed the ending.
Oh, no, you were right on, man.
Appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you. See, now I don't have to play it and run everybody off.
Oh, phooey. Leave that up to me.
Yeah. I wrote this. It's very important. I'll just read this. Oh, America. Oh, America, this is serious. How can you just stand by? You should be furious. I dreamed I was in a foreign land, maybe across the sea, and the nation bowed to just one man, everyone except me. He told them how to think and feel. The fear was in their eyes. He made them think they had a deal, and he fed them on hatred and lies. When I awoke, I was alarmed at what I knew was wrong. I hadn't dreamed at all. I'd fallen asleep with the TV on. Oh, America, this is serious. How can you just stand by? You should be furious. Oh, America, you must take a stand. You've allowed yourselves to become prisoners in your own once free land in America. I went to my local megachurch with these ominous thoughts I bear. The preacher was preaching division and hate. The true God just wasn't there. Yeah, there was no love anywhere. So I asked the men at the pulpit, why do you hate those not like you for their color, their sex, or who they choose to love? Hatred's evil. You know that's true. It's the poison that rips us in two. Oh, America, this is serious. Let a handful awaken and do all the work. A handful. I am furious. Oh, America, this is serious. Help us take a stand while we still have the freedom to be who we are in this rich and beautiful land. Oh, America, this is serious. How did we let it get this far? Have we gotten so deaf and blind? Have our hearts become so calloused with hatred and scars? A pure heart is so hard to find. Oh, America, they shout about freedom, they shout about God while they lust after power and greed, while they threaten the lives and the rights of the different and forbid us the things that we need. Oh, America, this is serious. Let's tip our glasses. Let us embrace the freedoms they've taken away and let us gather and plan, fight and be strong. Let it begin today. Oh, America. I've got another instrument here that I'm going to play. It has a little bit of a tail behind it. It's the mountain dulcimer. I bought it down the road here. Matter of fact, on the corner there where Chelsea's is. About 40 years ago, there was a man there playing dulcimer, and his name was Old Wild Bill Hodges. Do some of y'all remember Old Wild Bill? He had red hair and a red beard. And he won this at the Walnut Valley Festival about 36 years ago. He got third place. And he was tuned to a traditional Ionian tuning. Now, all the winners playing a DAD tuning. It's called Mixolydian, so they can get all these fancy notes and get there and play with Bill didn't do that. He just played it in open D like that with D and 2 A's. And that's how he did it. His guitar pick on one side said "Oh Wild Bill Hodges," "Oh Wild $2 bill." And it wasn't O-L or O-L-D, it's O-H, "Oh Wild Bill." Yeah, he successfully predicted the sex of our son while Patty was pregnant. Patty bought the dulcimer for me. We went into the dulcimer shop, and he just looked at her, and he didn't say anything to us about it, but he sold me this little bitty chord book, actually gave it to me. We got home, I opened it up, and I had my son's birthday boy written outside. Yeah. And I don't think the moon was even full. So I wrote this tune about POWs that didn't make it back. I am a young man and I stand to buy boots. I don't usually have much to say, but there's news on the mountain and it shivers my bones. They're burying Jimmy today. Now Jimmy's been missing since June 65, and I pray that his death was not slow. May God always bless you, he told this to me when he left us 4 decades ago. Now they sent Jimmy home in a black plastic bag. For 40 years he's gone away. Lord knows what he went through when he was alive. They're burying Jimmy today. I'll pray for his mama, she's out with her son. His papa need work no more. Lord knows just how many might still be over there. God, please save our prisoners of war. They sent Jimmy home in a black plastic bag. For 20 years he's been away. Lord knows what he went through when he was alive. They're burying Jimmy today. Oh, they're burying Jimmy today. Thank you. That was an Irish tune called South Wind. I used to work at one of the most depressing factories in the world. It was called Gerber Products down in Fort Smith, Arkansas. They made baby food there. Now you would think that would be a happy place to work. And when I drove up for the first time, it was a happy place. I drove up and there was this picture of this baby. So let me just tell you, the longer I worked there, the more that I realized it wasn't about that baby at all. It was about the money they would make from baby food and selling baby food and stuff like that. So we would have these, all of a sudden we'd be working, doing our jobs, and these guys would just come out of anywhere real quick and say, guys, get to clean up. You know, OSHA's here, we gotta clean up. So we'd sweep up baby food, glass from broken jars and things like that, and we'd hide people that had just been cut or something, you know. And I worked with this guy named Ed Blaylock. He was redheaded, very quiet, very cool guy, you know, just a cool guy. And he's shaking his head while the OSHA dudes are walking in with their butt caps and their ties, you know, and the foreman's leading him around. And they walk up to Ed, and everybody's kind of nervous, and Ed's just, who you guys, man? And, oh, yeah, I work for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. We're just here checking to see, you know. Oh, that's why they made us clean all this crap up. You should have been there an hour ago. You'd have slipped in the baby food and cut your throat. And Ed disappeared. He disappeared. Came in one morning, he was gone, and we didn't know what happened to him. We wondered about him, we worried about him, because, you know, after work, we'd all go down to the bowling alley and get drunk and bowl and stuff like that. You know, it was the only way we could tolerate the noise of a bowling lane was to get drunk. But Ed, 3 weeks later, on a Monday morning, I'm standing out in front of the baby food factory, and Ed come walking up, he had a paper sack in his arm. Ernie gave me a big hug. I said, man, Ed, you know, where have you been? So he had tripped on acid for several days in a row, found himself on a dirt back road in Texas, believing he was walking into the sun. As he got closer, the sun, S-U-N, became the sun, S-O-N, and told him he had to repent and convert, for he was needed to spread God's word. Still not sure which end of his experience involved me, but that fateful Monday morning, he gave me his only John Prine album. It was the Hay Bell album. It was John Prine's first album. This was the early 80s, and I'd never heard of John Prine. I haven't seen this guy Ed since. I learned the album, auditioned at our local music bar, doing a few originals and all of that album, and I got my first gig at Old Town Grain and Feed in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Made lots of new friends who loved John Prine, and met my wife and soulmate Patty, who had every album I had and every album I wanted, including most everything Prine had recorded up to that time, Jesus, the missing years. So, in the latter part of the 90s, 1998 I believe, we bought a brand new 1994 Ford Explorer. We were uptown. We were driving home from Tulsa and the moon was full. And this song came to me. And you know, at that time we drank a lot of Celestial Seasonings tea. I just loved the boxes, because the boxes were just full of these little witticisms. You flip the little tab back and there'd be something cool somebody had said somewhere along the way. And, yeah, I even tried Sleepy Time tea for a while to try to go to sleep at night. And I'll tell you, 1 cup of Sleepy Time tea at 11 will put you to sleep at 11:20, at 11:45, you're back up peeing. So, I don't do that anymore. But this is called John Prine, Me and a Cup of Tea. And the cup of tea is Morning Thunder. Set out one day to save the world. She gave mouth to a drowning squirrel, and it bit her on the lip. Got more than thunder in my cup, John Prine on the stereo, when I turn them both up. And throw another biscuit to that hungry pup, and have myself a sip of morning thunder. Now when I hear John Prine, I begin to think that I can swim or drown, I can float or sink, and life goes around like a roller rink, 'cause sometimes you bust your butt. Now this big old world can sure be cold. Say hello in there to the lonely and old. And onion bread grows thick green mold. Well, I think I'll have a sip of morning thunder. Love many, trust you, and always paddle your own canoe. You can't know success if you never fail. So why sit around like a bump on a log? Money can buy you a real fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. Now whistle a tune if you're feeling blue, and if your feet hurt, try some different shoes. And to remember, to thyself be true, and always leave a tip. Well, happiness now love's been seen as the lost and found, and happiness can be a well-fed hound. Are you yourself just when no one's around? Well, I think I have a cup of morning thunder. Love many and trust few, and always paddle your own canoe. You can't know success if you never fail. So now why sit around like a bump on a log? Money can buy you a real fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. Now the dollar's green, so the grass. Don't throw rocks if your house is glass. You build a wall, you call it social class. I call it social blunder. Now violets are purple, the roses are red, and if it weren't for you, darling, I'd probably be dead. So just keep on sleeping in that big warm bed while I'm listening to John Prine and drinking morning thunder. Love many and trust few, and always paddle your own canoe. You can't know success if you never fail. So now why sit around like a bump on a log? Money can buy you a real fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. Why sit around like a bump on a log? Money can buy you a real fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. What a treat that was. Wow. If you'd like to hear Ernie again, K-Fresh Productions has recorded this for us, and it will soon be online. Now here is my co-producer, Sandra.
Well, we want to, as always, thank Brews and especially John Rankin for being a loyal supporter of Homegrown Tales and allowing us to use their space for the past 8 years. And we have some exciting news. Our next show will be June 3rd at our Homegrown Tales new home, the Gravel Bar at Wanderoo on Highway 62 West. So if you're here, please pass that along to your fellow Eurekan friends. And our next storytellers will be Eurekans Linda Packham and Jean Flake. Our musical guest will be a favorite, our friend from Missouri, Mick Bird. So we'll see you at the Gravel Bar on Wednesday, June 3rd. There is a time change, 5 to 7 p.m. So you can come early, order dinner from their full menu, make a night of it, and if you like, stay for trivia after the tales. So we appreciate so much Ernie and Patty coming all this way and from Figure 5, and it was a delight. Appreciate so much everybody being here and you guys being here. It was real special.
You've been listening to Homegrown Tales, a live storytelling event held at Brews. Join us again next time at the Gravel Bar in Eureka Springs for more Homegrown Tales.